Welcome to the Artful podcast. I'm Ryan Roy, tattoo artist, financial coach, spiritual seeker. Sometimes I am a confidant, I am a healer, I am a guide, I'm a student. I don't say these things because I identify with them all the time, but sometimes I'm one or all of those things. And I believe the same thing is true about you, by the way. I think sometimes you are also a healer. You are also a student. You are also a guide or a teacher. And we are here today to talk about spirituality and money and my experience, particularly with plant medicine. There are many forms of plant medicine. The particular medicine that I have experience with and I'm going to be talking about today is ayahuasca. So I also want to acknowledge that I do not take drugs. I do not drink alcohol. I don't put chemicals in my body to run away from things or to numb myself out or to escape the way I feel. I've just found that that does not serve me to do that. And ayahuasca is the complete opposite of escaping the way you feel. It actually, in my experience, brings all that shit up, all that mud that is stagnant and stuck at the bottom that you spend most of your life avoiding, and it brings it right to the surface in unexpected ways, in ways that you couldn't possibly fathom. And I'm obviously going to be talking about the influence that ayahuasca, plant medicine, or DMT, which is the active chemical in ayahuasca, which is also something that your body naturally produces at birth and at death. And there are actually also meditative practices that you can do, such as Kundalini breathwork meditations that can also produce DMT in your system, which I also participate in. Before I dive into that, I think there's just so much misunderstanding or confusion around ayahuasca and what it is. And often people will be like, oh, is it like mushrooms? Is it like LSD? And it is not at all like either of those. I have taken those in the past. Ayahuasca is, let's put it this way, and maybe this is sort of the case for maybe all psychedelic mind-altering substances. And again, I want to differentiate between drugs and medicine. In shamanism, they often talk about the poison is the medicine is the poison. So all medications can be poisonous, and sometimes poisons can be the medicine that you need. It really depends on the intention and the environment and the way you're going about it, and maybe some of the people that are involved. So every time I've done ayahuasca, it has been with a guide, with a shaman, someone who is very experienced in not just the effects that it has on the human body, but the ceremony itself that surrounds the ingestion of the ayahuasca, the ceremony, the music, the people delivering the ceremony, in my opinion, have more to do with the experience and the value you get out of the experience than just the chemical itself. I could never, ever imagine myself just sitting down and drinking ayahuasca casually or something. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't be at all valuable to me or to anyone. So if I could break down what the fuck's happening when you drink ayahuasca, and this isn't based on science or anything, so I haven't read anything that's influenced my opinion. This is just from probably 20 or so ceremonies that I have sat for. Let's consider your brain, your mind, a radio receiver, right? It receives frequencies from around you. And like any radio, there's a range of frequencies that you can receive. So in this three-dimensional duality of reality that we live in, the normal, let's call it, perceived reality, there's a certain range of frequencies that you're receiving at any given time. And that's not all that you're being bombarded with, right? You're being hit with all kinds of frequencies on a larger spectrum than what you're perceiving. Ayahuasca and possibly other psychoactive substances, they're altering and they're really, in my experience, expanding the range of frequencies which you are capable of receiving and interacting with. A lot of people, and myself included, I'll try to speak mostly from my own experience. I have met entities from other dimensions, from other galaxies. I have experienced realms, let's call them, of reality that are nothing remotely like this realm. Even trying to describe them using language from this realm just cannot do it justice. And some of them are scary, some of them are challenging, some of them are expansive. And overall, the experiences that I've had with ayahuasca have been purely positive, even if sometimes they've been some of the scariest or most challenging things that I have also encountered. Again, I don't do this because it's like a party at all. In fact, I'll just say this right now. I don't recommend anyone do ayahuasca. I do not recommend it because it is something that I was called to do. And I knew in my heart, in my soul, it was something I was called. And I was sober completely without anything for, I think, 8 years before I ever did my first ayahuasca ceremony. So I think those 8 years of complete raw dogging it through reality without any other substance in my body were crucial for me to even get the value that ayahuasca had to offer. You know, I used to be a drug addict. I used to be, and still am, a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, right? It really didn't work for me to put substances in my body because I naturally just wanted to escape reality. It was like an allergic reaction. The minute I put drugs or alcohol in my body, I just wanted to do more and get more of that feeling and get more of that escape. That is not the case with ayahuasca. There are many times where you're like, nope, not doing more of this. This is okay. This is all right. I'm a little freaked out right now. But again, it was valuable and it was really taken like a medicine. So I just want to really harp on that. If anyone hears anything I have to say, I don't want you to take this as I'm recommending you take this medication, this medicine. And if you are going to do it, if you feel deeply called to do it, really make sure that you are with people that you trust, that come highly recommended, that they themselves have extensive experience in dealing with these. The shaman is there to protect you, not just from yourself and the people around you, but also from the other energies that you may encounter that may not serve you. Like it opens you up to such a great expanse of frequency of energy. And some of those things maybe don't serve you and they're not good. The shaman actually can move that energy away from you. They have these chapacas, these like plant fans that they move the energy through the room, and the music and the vibration of the music, the harmonicas bring harmony into the space. And all of it is very, you feel like almost like you're watching like an expert surgeon perform their expertise in the room, in the ceremony. So this isn't just some like, all right, let's fucking go have a good weekend, get all my bros together and go drink ayahuasca. Don't do that. Don't ever. No. You'll know in your heart. And maybe there is something that I say that resonates with you in a way that furthers your journey. And if that is meant for you, I trust that it will happen. And if it's not meant for you, that's perfectly fine. It's not for everyone. So really, I just really emphasizing, I'm not recommending you do ayahuasca or any plant medicine at all. And if you are in sobriety and you're thinking, oh, well, Ryan's sober, so I can do it. No, don't take that message from this, because that's not at all what I'm saying. It was years of doing my own spiritual work, my meditations, my step work in 12-step programs, my communication with other guides and people in my sober spiritual practice before I ever felt comfortable partaking in this type of situation, of ceremony. So that's my disclaimer. Now, like I said, I've done about 20 or so ceremonies. Some of the earlier ones I did were seemingly some of the more powerful ones. It's not that I like built a tolerance to it. I actually think what has occurred for me is I got a lot of blockages out of the way early on in a lot of my early ceremonies. And some of the really, they'll call it like deep in the chuma, deep in the non-dual realms, altered states, altered realms. That happened for me a lot in my earlier ceremonies. In some of my more recent ceremonies, I'm like actually completely grounded. In fact, my last ceremony, I cried for like 5 hours. That's what I did. I cried to express and experience the sadness that I carry around all the time, that it's just simply not really appropriate for me to fully experience, because if I did, I would just break down and not be able to function in my life. And I think we all carry that. And in fact, part of what I was crying for was not just myself, but was for all of humanity and all of the sadness and the weight that we carry that we just kind of have to shove to the side, because if we were to allow ourselves to be present to it fully, we wouldn't be able to just go on with our day, you know? So I was really grateful to have that experience, but I wasn't tripping. I wasn't seeing anything. I was just deeply in touch with my feelings and emotions. That's all that happened. And it was not a psychedelic experience, but it was a deeply healing one. And so that's why I say ayahuasca is so different from things like mushrooms or LSD, is because, you know, if you take mushrooms or LSD, like you're like visually, you know, things are going to like get real weird. That is not always the case. And in fact, a lot of my ayahuasca ceremonies have been extremely grounded. I'm very present, and I'll maybe receive a message or a download, as they say, from somewhere from the mother, the eternal, maternal energy that permeates all of reality, all of the universe at all times. And so how does this relate to money? Where is Ryan going with this? So I got really present to everything as energy in my ceremonies. Everything. Money, love, relationships. Through language, we separate them. We dissect them in the illusion of duality. We are separating things. In fact, you can look at it as we're constantly making decisions about reality, and then we're using our words to enforce the decision that we made about reality. And the word decide means to kill off or to cut off. The word decide is similar in its root to words like homicide, genocide, patricide. It means to kill off. To decide is to kill off other ideas and then pick our idea and say, okay, I've decided on this idea. And so language is a tool that we use. One of the things we use it for is to strengthen our perspective, our decision, our very small perspective. You know, our humanness, our egos give us a very tiny perspective of the world around us. And then we've decided, well, this is the way it is. And so we do that about money. We decide, okay, money's this way, and we do it unconsciously. We inherit a relationship about money, with money, from our parents, from our mentors, whoever is around us during those years when we're first starting to understand what money is in our life. And then money is that way. You've decided. You didn't even realize you decided, but you did, that it is that way. Whatever way it is, right? Money is hard. Money is evil. Money is, you know, meant to be enjoyed in the moment, right? But maybe, you know, we forget that, oh, it's also meant to be stored energy spread out throughout our lives, shared with various versions of ourselves. I often like to talk about the concept of our inner elder, right? You have your inner child, but you also have your inner elder, this elder version of yourself that I want to try to share my money energy with. And I'm often thinking about that when it comes to money. So money, love, food, whatever, everything is energy. We use language to separate it and decide about it being the way it is. Ayahuasca really broke a lot of that up for me. And I was already very much so on a money journey before I participated in ayahuasca ceremonies, but it deepened that. The seed had already been planted, and then ayahuasca just watered and nurtured and put sunshine and nutrients on that seed. And I saw just the pain and the suffering and the stuckness around the concept of money that we have decided is the case. The sort of societal decision around money. And it doesn't work for most people. I'm going to actually just go ahead and say it doesn't work for anyone. It's not like the conversation around money works for some people and doesn't work for other people. I promise you. When you go deep down the narrative, you might look at someone who is very wealthy, earning millions of dollars a year, and say, oh, well, the money conversation is clearly working for them. And honestly, it has nothing to do with the amount of money. Because if your core relationship with money is not healthy, is not healed, is not a relationship that is founded on creativity and love and playfulness and lightness and flow, right? If your core relationship with money is based on burden and heaviness and shoulds and shouldn'ts and rights and wrongs and rigidity and, judgment, fear, shame, guilt, if that's your core relationship with money, and again, you didn't intentionally decide that that's what your relationship with money is going to be about, but a lot of us carry that, and myself included. I have some of that stuff. I'm not completely free from the bigger conversation that society's having around money. I deal with it on a daily basis. I'm just very aware of it. I'm very conscious of it. I'm very intentional about, oh, wow, these are the thoughts, these are the feelings that I'm having. Let's explore them rather than numb out to them or avoid them. Let's talk about them. Let's shine light on them. As Brené Brown says in her book, Daring Greatly, which is on, really the power of being vulnerable and looking at shame and dealing with it, when we shine light on the shame and the guilt and the fear, it can't control us. When we are avoiding it, it is doing push-ups. It has control over it. It is powerful. And something my father always says is anything that we cannot be with has control over you. Anything you can fully be with, wholly and completely, you have freedom around. And that's at its core what my work is about with money, is let's be with money wholly and completely with nothing and no one left out. And when we do that, it's all play. It's all joy. It's all love. It's all bliss. And we're not going to walk into the woods for 30 years and walk out in 2-3 weeks. It's a practice that we have to repeat over and over again. I just saw that this thing that we call money, the energy of money, is not actually separate on an energetic level. Again, this was something I don't even know how to say I got from an ayahuasca ceremony. I downloaded, I experienced. It's not separate from creativity. It's not separate from love. It's not separate from anything. We separate it and then we talk about it like it's separate. And then we run into problems because we're not talking about the whole picture. So I think a great example of this is in the traditional financial service industry, right? CPAs and CFPs and investment advisors, and they're all there to serve a purpose, right? It's not that they're useless by any means. They're serving a purpose, but they're only talking about the practical, tangible numbers part. They're really talking about, to bring it to masculine, feminine kind of energetic balance, they're really talking about the masculine side of money, the practical, tangible, work hard and logic, and, there's no creativity, there's no flow, there's no play, which is a big part of money, but it's part of the feminine side. The feminine energy of money is this sort of mystical and removed of expectation and of comparison. And we need to balance that out. We need to balance out these energies. And today there's all kinds of conversations about male and female and all that. I mean, I personally believe we're all of it, right? I am male, I am female. And part of my life's journey is, how do I get present to the fact that I have a strong feminine energy along with a strong masculine energy, and play with that. And I'm not talking about, sexual orientation or anything really. I'm just simply acknowledging that everything has these dualities to it, but they don't exist as separate things. They are one, they're together. So if money energy has only been talked about and dealt with from the masculine perspective, right? There's a huge breakdown because we're not talking about the whole thing. There's an elephant in the room and we're not acknowledging it. And by inviting this perspective that money is creativity, it's flow, it's playfulness, it's lightness, and embracing that and embracing the practical, tangible, logical, right? We don't want to ignore that either, because if we just go into that feminine realm around money, well, then we'd have the same breakdown just in reverse. By just simply listening to this conversation right now, your energy is being impacted, is being altered, is being shifted, transformed, transmutated. It's alchemy that we're shifting the narrative, shifting the perspective, shifting the conversation, right? Your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your life. But it all starts at that level of thought. And so just by me planting these seeds in your mind, and like, yeah, I'm so busy trying to figure out how to make more money to do what? To throw on top of the fire of the unhealthy relationship that I already have, right? As the famous poet and philosopher, Notorious B.I.G. said, more money, more problems. Well, what he's really saying is, and I don't know, maybe he's up there somewhere, looking down. He's like, that's what I was trying to say. I don't know. I'm not going to claim that. But what I take from that line, more money, more problems, is that when our core relationship with money isn't healthy, if we put more money on that core relationship, then we're just going to have more problems. But when our core relationship with money is based on a healthy, balanced perspective of both the masculine and the feminine energies, elements of money, then more money becomes more play. It becomes more solutions. It becomes more creativity. It becomes more building. It becomes more service, more opportunity, more flow. And if we're only ever trying to make more money and trying to figure money out and get money to work in the way that we think it should, then we're forever going to be on the hamster wheel. And you see that with people that they have my father is a therapist, and he has clients that are multimillionaires, people that own yachts and private islands and that kind of stuff. And they suffer about money. I mean, like, I know it's hard sometimes for people to, think about that. If you're, living below the poverty line, if you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, boohoo. I'm playing the world's smallest, violin for your sadness. But that's the truth. And to be honest, people with lots of money can suffer just as much or more than people with not enough money. And I know that's not like a popular belief, but I think that is part of the old narrative that wants you to think that more is better when more is not necessarily better. More of what, right? If more of that unhealthy relationship is present, that's certainly not better. So I don't really know how I fully stumbled into this. Again, I don't believe there's anything as coincidence. I think my artistic journey drove me into my financial journey. And then through my spiritual practices, through meditation, through journaling, and then eventually through participating in plant medicine ceremonies. And I don't know where it's leading me, but I just started to see things and make these connections and realize, oh, it's not over there where I think it is. It's over here. It's an internal game. Everything, in my opinion, is really an internal game. And if we're only playing the external game and trying to move the pieces around in our external world to fit the way we think they're supposed to fit in order to be happy or fulfilled or feel rewarded in our relationship with money, that's like moving the chairs around on the Titanic. It's a sinking ship. And we're just like, ooh, let me get over there, right? If I get to there, well, then it'll be better. But like the whole ship's fucking sinking. So there is, as one of my first AA sponsors said to me, he said, there is no there over there. There is only more here. I see that in everywhere in my life. There is no there over there to get to. There's only more here. So let me actually be here now and look at myself and do the work and seek the healing and have the challenging conversations and have the painful conversations, because in that pain, in that deep pain, and that deep wound is so much power. And we spend most of our lives avoiding that pain. And I'm here. If I am advising you to do anything, if I am making any recommendation or suggestion, it is to not run from the pain, not run from the fear, lean into it, and discover for yourself the gifts that it has to offer. Right there, you could throw your fucking college education out the window. You could throw your economic degrees and your business experience and everything. You could throw all that out the window, because in my opinion, none of it is nearly as valuable as saying, where's my core wound? Where are my triggers? what's the conversation that's playing in here around money that is giving me my experience of money? And now let me deal with that rather than trying to, figure it out. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that offers you some useful, actionable things to do in your life. I mean, if you want to talk specifics, like what have I done? I've journaled and I've meditated. And I haven't even done that, every day for years or anything like that. Like I do it most days, but again, it's not about like, okay, I'm going to do this every day for a month and my life will be better. No, it's a fucking long ass journey. I've been doing it for years on and off, and I fall off the horse and I get back on. But it's that internal work that has unexpectedly, and you cannot place expectation on this kind of work. The more expectation you have, I mean, I can talk about ayahuasca in another episode because there's a lot to unpack, but it's that expectation, whether it's with the meditation, the journaling, the plant medicine, the whatever spirituality or internal work, that expectation blinds you. It is your blind spot, and you think that it's supposed to look like XYZ, and then it never does. And you never fucking understand why, and you keep cycling the same kind of actions over and over again that aren't producing the results that you want. And then you try to switch, or you try to like say, oh, that's not really gonna serve me. And sometimes, I was talking about this earlier today with someone in my course. Sometimes, like Einstein says, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. Sometimes that's true. It's not true all the time though. Sometimes doing the same thing over and over again, letting go of the expected result is the way back to sanity. And I don't think I can tell you for sure how and what that should look like in your life. Just check in with yourself here. It's going to make sense here. If you try to understand what I'm saying from up here, it's not going to make much sense. It might frustrate you. It might make you a little bit angry. But if you just let it hit you here, I promise you, like through osmosis, your life is going to start to change. And so I'm trusting that that's taking place in this conversation that I'm having with myself and with you. So with that, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to checking in with you again on the next episode of The Artful Dollar. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, I just want to prompt that if you got some value out of this conversation, please go and leave us a rating and a review on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you saw this podcast. It really helps me out, and it really helps other people to find this podcast. I want more people to have these types of conversations around money so that we can all be more free and at ease and abundant and able to create the lives that we really want to live. So please share this and rate and review. Appreciate it. Thanks.